Hi there, my name is Ron Rogers, and this presentation is titled Compressor Stalls and Bolts Going Through Your Engine Will Really Get Your Attention. It also has a little subtitle of What the Heck Happened to My House? Now, this takes place in the mid to late 70s when I was out as a chase pilot at the Air Force Flight Test Center at Edwards Air Force Base out in the Mojave Desert. Now, I was going to do a functional check flight, an FCF flight, kind of a standard thing. That was one of my additional duties. And my folks were out visiting, and I thought, well, what the heck? How often do they get to see me fly an airplane? And it was in the evening, so there are virtually no other aircraft flying. So I'm going to take off from Edwards runway 22 there. And I'm just going to take off. I'm going to make a turn. There's the blue arrow. And the other little blue arrow is I'm just going to go by where my house is. It's right where that little yellow dot is at the kind of the edge of the housing area there. And I told my wife, I'm going to be taking off and just have my folks come out and, there's a little spot they could stand and I'd go by and kind of, at a normal altitude, not going to get in trouble here, normal altitude. And then I'd put an afterburner and do an afterburner climb and look kind of cool, So, okay, fine. Well, the neat thing about this is in the desert air, when I put the aircraft into afterburner, you could hear it all the way 8 miles away at the housing area. Now, I decided just for fun a few years ago with Google Earth, which didn't exist back when I was out there, I'd just look at my old housing area and see what was going on. And that blue arrow there, that's my house. And I'm going, wait a minute, this doesn't look very good. Maybe the resolution is bad. Nope. That's what it looks like. They tore everything down. See, this is my house. Nice neighborhood. Green grass. We had in-ground watering system. Look at the trees. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, it was a nice area. Yeah, we had swamp coolers. I guess people don't like swamp coolers now. They worked, but that was the housing area. Well, this is what it looks like now. Not as exciting. In fact, I got on the website and they said, if you were interested in looking where your house was in Edwards, nothing is the same as of 10 years ago. Well, geez, I'm talking about almost 40 years ago. Yeah, it's all gone. So I go by and, I'm at a reasonable altitude and I see him standing down there. But in the meantime, it wasn't just my wife and my folks. I guess a few neighbors had come out. There were about 20 people there. So it had gotten to be kind of a crowd. Well, no problem. I'm not, doing any air show here. I'm just going to do a normal, burner climb. So I put the aircraft into afterburner. Now I don't have a good picture of what a T-38 compressor stall looks like, but when I got back, one of the people commented that that was really neat. They didn't realize the afterburner, really showed like that because you see on this picture here, the left engine's in normal afterburner, the right engine's having a compressor stall. And he said it was interesting. He didn't know the flame came out of the front of the aircraft also. So I guess when this thing compressor stalled and it got my attention, because it knocked my feet virtually off the rudder pedals. It was loud and a bang. And I guess flame came out both ends, and they thought that was really pretty cool. Well, of course, this thing compressor stalls, so I go, well, that's the end of the FCF. We're going back. So I pulled the both engines out of burner, did a 180, and entered the pattern, came back around, landed. Now, here I am, and this is a course of just a few years. Most people can go a whole career without having a compressor stall. But we're up on a little proficiency flight, and I'm actually flying with one of the F-16 civilian test pilots, and we're doing some in-trail formation. Now, here's number 4 in the in-trail position. Don't pay attention to 2 and 3. It's just the lead aircraft number 1 and me, and I'm in trail. And we're doing some aerobatics and stuff like that. We're doing aileron rolls, and we're doing a loop here. And just as I'm coming over the top of the loop, unbeknownst to me at the time, there's a little bolt on the forward avionics compartment. And you see that red arrow? Now that inlet back there by the stars and bars, that's not a very big inlet, is it? Well, this little bolt found its way from the nose all the way back into that inlet. And this is one of the blades. Now, it's not the worst of the blades. There were some blades that were hardly anything left. And, this is a small engine, the J85. Uh, every single blade had at least a nick in it. And of course, when this happened, I'm inverted, of course, at the top part of the loop, and this thing starts compressor stalling. So I'm losing power on the engine. So it wasn't too hard to back out of the formation, as it were, and recover and tell Lee, hey, I got a little engine problem here. So I throttled it back. The procedure, you get a compressor stall, you bring the throttle to idle. But I decided, see, well, how much power do I have? Well, I put the throttle forward and 80% RPM, which is roughly about half thrust. It started the compressor stalling again. So I pulled the throttle back. And of course, being, whatever you want to call it, I put the throttle forward again just to see if, it would be any better. Well, it was worse. And the engine was not doing well. So, okay, enough of that. Pulled it to idle. So that was the end of that. Time to come back home. So did a single engine landing, of course. Kept the one at idle, and the maintenance colonel met us, and he was not happy what had happened to his engine. But of course, wasn't my fault. But that was my two compressor stall events out at Edwards, and as I mentioned in a few other presentations, or will. I've had a few other engine incidents out there at Edwards, but this is flight test, and a lot of things like that happen. But this is a fun airplane to fly, and I really enjoyed it, and I wish I could afford to fly one as a civilian, but that's not going to happen. But I hope you enjoyed this story. Thank you for listening.